So friends, welcome back to KU Padasala. So we are dealing with film studies. So from the techniques and technology of cinema, we are moving into the history of cinema. So the motion pictures as we know it today has arrived. We discussed D.W. Griffith and how his filmmaking fundamentally changed the grammar of cinema. The era is known as silent. Not perhaps because movies were entirely silent, for there were accompanying voiceovers by live actors and even music, and at times operas playing out. But because synchronous sound along with the image was still not invented. So now we move into the silent features, where you see this constant tension between realism and expressionism. In the silent era, the American film industry witnessed a profound contrast between commercialization and artistic expression. The likes of Cecil D. Mills thrived with their spectacles, melodramas, and sentiment. It was a tradition of sonnet that truly blossomed, and within this era, comedy was king. The late teens and 20s were dominated by comedic brilliance. Mary Pickford's film held phenomenal popularity, and her husband Douglas Fairbanks stood at the forefront. However, it was the comedic genre that reigned supreme. The period was ruled by the comedy giants such as Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, Harold Lloyd, Harry Langton, and producers Mark Sennett and Hal Roach. Their personas created during these years are indelible in the annals of film history. Chaplin, for instance, was not just a master of slapstick. He was a philosopher in a bowler's hat. His films were not merely comedic escapades. They were social commentaries in the language of laughter. He touched upon Victorian sentiment within the context of this contemporary world. In the silent comedy realm, the transition from mechanical competence to metaphor and meaning was led by the great comic actors of the era. Their stories like Chaplin's tapped into political issues, questioning how individuals could navigate the complexities of industrial civilization and power politics. These comedians were not just jesters, but philosophers, using physical comedy to convey a deeper message. Audiences responded with a visceral understanding of the struggles these characters faced. Each comedian had their distinct and formal style. Harold Lloyd, for example, leaned towards the mechanical and abstract. But all of them, to varying degrees, bridged the gap between mechanics and morality. The silent era remains a treasure trove of laughter, introspection, and a profound connection between the comedy, the mechanics of comedy, and the morals of human spirit. Lights, camera, action. Welcome to the magic world of silent cinema. While the roaring 20s were in full swing, the silver screen was still in its early days. Imagine a time when movies had no dialogue, just music and visual storytelling. In the United States, the art of comedy reigned supreme. Legendary comedians, as we discussed before, Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, Harold Lloyd, and many others were the kings of the era. These iconic figures created timeless characters and unforgettable moments that continues to make us laugh today. Take Charlie Chaplin, for instance. His slapstick humor and endearing tramp character connected with the audience on a deeply emotional level. Chaplin's work was a mix of Victorian sentiment and contemporary music. And then there is Buster Keaton, the master of mechanical comedy. His deadpan expression and daring stunts pushed the boundaries of physical comedy. Whether it was performing death-defying acts or navigating complex art contraptions, Keaton did it all with a straight face. Harold Lloyd brought a touch of abstraction to his comedy. His films featured intricate physical gags that captured the essence of the times. It was a period of intense industrialization, and these comedians explored how individuals coped with the challenges of modern life. But the jewel of this era is indeed Chaplin's Modern Times, a film ahead of its time made in 1936. It's essentially a silent movie in a world of sound. The film humorously reflects the struggle between man and machines, a theme that remains relevant even today. While comedy ruled the American screen, a different artistic force was at play in the 1920s, the exploration of film realism. One of the pioneers of film realism was Erich von Stroheim. His films like Foolish Wives, Greed, and Wedding March were re-edited by studios but still stand as legends. Film schools still teach Stroheim's movies, which are almost 8 to 9 hours long. Stroheim delved into deep focus, complex mise-en-scene and location shooting, pushing the boundaries of storytelling. Now, Stroheim was not alone in Europe. Filmmakers like Robert Flaherty, a very close friend of Satyajit Ray, known for Nanook of the North and the Maona, explored documentary realism. F.W. Murnau, fresh from Germany, brought this unique vision to American films like Sunrise and Taboo. They all recognize the importance of allowing the observer to engage with the film's creator. On the American front, films like The Big Parade and The Crowd, and later Our Daily Bread, showcase political realism. They tapped into the social and political issues of the time, bridging gap between art and the audience. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, filmmakers were approaching cinema as art form. They worked closely with painters, musicians, playwrights, forming a bond between different artistic disciplines. France gave us Louis Lelouch, the notable first aesthetic theorist of cinema. And filmmakers like Abel Gance, John Epstein, Germaine Dulac, and René Clair painted visual symphonies that transcended the mundane. But it was in Germany where the avant-garde movement was in full swing. The birth of German Expressionism brought distorted sets, stark lighting, avant-garde storytelling to life. Filmmakers like Robert Wayne, F.W. Murnau, Fritz Lang created dark, mesmerizing worlds that left a lasting impact on cinema. So there you have it, a glimpse into the roaring 20s when comedy reigned supreme, realism took root in American cinema, and European filmmakers transformed the art of storytelling on the big screen. The 1920s may be long gone, but the laughter and the artistry and the magic of silent cinema continue to captivate audiences around the world. Now, cinema's international evolution from Expressionism to Soviet Revolution. As we delve deeper into the annals of film history, the Roaring Twenties took on a different shade in Europe. Writer Karl Mayer and designer and painter Hermann Worm, Walter Rohrich, and Walter Reimann, they played pivotal roles in shaping this influential movement. German directors like Robert Wayne, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, Fritz Lang, Dr. Mabuse and Metropolis, F.W. Murnau, Nosferatu and The Last Laugh, and Paul Lenny, Waxworks and The Cat and the Canary, brought nightmarish landscapes to life. Fritz Lang's Metropolis stands as a testament to the grandeur of this era, with its colossal cityscapes and the themes of dystopia. It was a visual feast unlike anything seen before. G.W. Pabst took an alternative path, exploring realism in films like Joyless Street. His works offered a glimpse into the gritty side of life and society, providing a stark contrast to the dreamlike expressionism. Not to be outdone, Sweden and Denmark were also making cinematic waves. Directors Maurits Stiller and Victor Strongholm brought theatrical finesse to the screen. Stiller began with the witty comedies like Love and Journalism and later moved to literary adaptations. Gustav Berling's Saga. He eventually migrated to Hollywood with his star Greta Garbo. Hustrom, primarily an actor, explored poetic social commentary in films like This Outlaw and His Wife and Corcarlan. His work was celebrated for its depth and emotional resonance. Meanwhile, Danish director Carl Theodor Dreyer, a remarkable filmmaker, embarked on a career that spanned 50 years. His films, such as The Passion of Joan of Arc, Vampire, and Gertrude, are celebrated for its simplicity and fascination with human suffering. Passion of Joan of Arc is truly a work of art which is still being studied all across the world. But 20s were not just about these European cinema. It was also the golden age of Soviet cinema. Directors like Sergei Eisenstein, Meyerhold, Kuleshov were pioneering the art of film as a powerful medium of propaganda and artistic expression. Sergei Eisenstein's Battleship Potemkin is a prime example of its influential theories of montage. Through his unique approach to storytelling and iconic Odessa step sequence, he transformed cinema into a dialectical process. Alongside Eisenstein, filmmakers like Pudovkin, Dovzhenko explored film truth. Their films like Mother, The End of St. Petersburg, Arsenal, and Earth remain landmarks in cinema history. And let's not forget Zigo Vertov, who championed film truth through works like Man with a Movie Camera. These Soviet revolutionaries harnessed the power of montage to create compelling and politically charged narratives. So, as we step into the 1920s, remember that the cinema world was undergoing an artistic resonance. From German Expressionism to Soviet Revolution, filmmakers were pushing boundaries of what this form as an artistic expression could achieve. Now, Hollywood was seeing a remarkable change. 1930s marked an era of Hollywood's global cinematic dominance. American cinema had become a force to be reckoned with on screens worldwide. There were exceptions. In England, John Grierson led a group of documentary filmmakers, laying the foundation for the British documentary tradition. His impact on the future of British cinema was immeasurable. Grierson's team produced documentaries that left a lasting legacy, like Listen to Britain, Fires Were Started, and A Diary for Timothy. These films are personal statements weaving the perspectives of former poets and painters into the fabric of cinema. In Britain, Alfred Hitchcock reigned supreme as a master of fiction films during the 1930s. Across the English Channel, it was Jean Renoir who towered over the French film scene, though he was less appreciated than he is now. Hitchcock and Renoir created a new fusion of cinematic modes. Renoir especially combined the humanism of silent artists like Chaplin with realistic technique in an extraordinary series of films. France was a hotbed of personal styles. Marcel Pagnol explored French provincialism. France was a hotbed of personal styles. Marcel Pagnol explored French provincialism in a lyrical and popular manner. René Clair directed amusing and sometimes lightweight films. Marshall Khan delivered highly theatrical and witty dramas, peaking with Children of Paradise. Children of Paradise, directed by Khan, remains a remarkable achievement, known for its wits and drama. Jacques Prévert, Khan's frequent collaborator, added depth to their works. Jean Vigo, who tragically passed away at a young age of 29, left an indelible mark on French cinema with two unforgettable movies, Jetland and Zero Condition. His cinema was fresh and direct and a testament to his virtuoso style. Later, this came to be known as poetical realism, wherein which these movies presented a lyrical reality on screen. So the 1930s was an era of cinematic giants, from Hollywood's global dominance to the flourishing French and British film scenes. This decade left a profound impact on the world of cinema. Hollywood authors who shaped the film's landscape. In the heart of Hollywood's golden age, a handful of directors truly emerged as true authors, imprinting their unique vision on cinema. Like we discussed in the last lecture, Edison, who started Black Maria in New Jersey, was also filing a lot of patent cases. A lot of these young independent filmmakers found it very difficult to use cinematic techniques in New Jersey as they were bombarded with legal complications. So they started moving. They started moving to California, to a new place where they would not have to fight this legal battle. And this place later came to be known as Hollywood. Alfred Hitchcock, a master of the thriller, became one of Hollywood's most iconic authors. He perfected his craft in England and brought his genius to American cinema in 1940s. Hitchcock's early American works explored themes of political paranoia and suspense. Foreign Correspondent, Saboteur, and Shadow of a Doubt laid groundwork for a brilliant career in the United States.
Notorious. 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 She was a notorious woman of many desires. See? Notorious.
Notorious stands as a pinnacle of Hitchcock's artistry, a personal exploration of the impact of war-induced paranoia on relationships. In the same era, a group of distinguished directors made their marks. Joseph von Sternberg crafted visually elaborate romances, while Bushby Berkeley redefined musicals with a cinematic flair. John Ford, the maestro of the Western, lent new resonance to the genre and extended its metaphor in numerous films. Howard Hawks was a versatile director who excelled in screwball comedies, dramas, and westerns. Big Sleep, a classical noir detective story, combined talents from Chandler, Hawks, Bogart, and screenwriters to create a rich tapestry of entertainment. This film, like the best of Hollywood, offers more than that meets the eye. It's renowned for its portrayal of women, their strength and intelligence, which adds depth to the story. However, Hollywood styles had its limitations. Often political elements from the source material were toned down or omitted in favor of broader appeal. The true exploration of these themes would have to wait for films like Chinatown in the 1970s. These authors and their works left an indelible mark on Hollywood, shaping the film landscape for generations to come. As we journey through Hollywood's rich history, we uncover the complexities and brilliance of this era's authors. These directors continue to captivate and inspire us. In the great age of Hollywood, while luminaries like Hitchcock, Ford, Hawks, and von Sternberg etched their distinctive marks on the industry, a majority of films emerged from a collaborative orchestra of talent. One exception was the maverick Preston Sturges, who transitioned from playwright to successful screenwriter. In the 1940s, he directed satirical gems like The Lady Eve and Sullivan's Travel. Sturges maintained control over his film by writing his script and working with a dedicated ensemble of actors. His eccentric satire shines in cinematic gems like The Miracle of Morgan's Creek. Millie Wilder, an immigrant who fled Nazi-occupied Europe, was a writer-director with a modern wit. With Charles Brackett and later I.A.L. Diamond, he became one of Hollywood's most successful and prolific directors. His films range from film noirs of the 40s to the romances and comedies of the 50s and 60s. With classics like Some Like It Hot and The Apartment, he left an indelible mark on American culture. The clash between individual artistic sensibility and genre conventions was at the heart of classic Hollywood cinema. It was a dialectic that fueled the creation of enduring American myths like those found in the Western genre, embodying the national psyche of United States. Whether through the frontier, individualism, or the struggle between law and anarchy, Western genre connected deeply with the American audience and the American identity. Musicals also played a vital role in Hollywood, from Bush by Berkeley's geometric spectacles to charming light comedies of Fred Astaire. They showcase the magic of music and dance. Hollywood industry was a dynamic ecosystem, a harmonious blend of auteur visions and beloved genres. These genres became the canvas upon which directors painted their artistic signatures, making each film a unique masterpiece.